Thank you for always coming back. Remember, this is Hope for Every Day, where I motivate you, I encourage you just to continue living, and I share with you some of my experiences and things that are of value that can be able to help you. Today, I'm talking about something which I've learned for the last 3 years, which has helped me a lot. And this is about if you don't want argumentation, do documentation. If you don't want argumentation, do documentation. Now, documenting is very much important. It's very important for you to document all the details that are involved in any argument, all the details that need to be documented, because if you don't document them, an argument is going to arise. That's why documentation is very much important, because like the statement has said that if you don't want argumentation, which is basically arguing with people, do documentation. And this is very much important. I have an opportunity to work in an organization which works with the community, and we do a lot of documentation, getting some information, recording some information. I work with a group of staff, and one of the key things that I've learned, and one of my colleagues at work, I won't mention the name, helped me. She actually helped me to be very keen when it comes to documentation. I used to be very scanty when it comes to documentation. I mean, it's something I never considered. I think for me I used to consider the brotherly agreement. This is your brother, this is someone you know, a friend. And so we used to call it gentleman agreement. But let me tell you, in the current time we are living, you need to make sure that you document. It's very much important. Documenting is basically recording. There's something to show that they're an agreement, because you can agree with someone something, and after some time they'll just jump and say, no, I never agreed. Where did I write? But when you document, then you eliminate all argument, even if someone will come later. And when you talk about documentation, it can be done in any place. It can be done in the setting of the work. I've seen a situation whereby when you're working with your colleagues, I mean, there's that brotherly love, you care for each other. But one thing I've noted is that when it becomes tough, when there are some cases, when there are issues at work, the person you thought is your friend, the person you thought is your brother, they jump. I mean, they may not even treat you as a friend. And so if you had some agreements that were not documented, then you really be in trouble. And so it's very much important. And basically, when I'm saying to document, does not mean that when you tell a friend we need to document, it does not mean that you don't trust them. You do trust them, but also you acknowledge they are human beings. They can forget. I mean, they cannot be. You can agree on something, and the other day they're not there. And so, the only thing which is going to make sure that whatever you discuss was authentic, it was true, it was something that you agreed on, is when you document. And so documentation is very much important. And I want to encourage us to do documentation in anything that we do. If you're buying a piece of land, do documentation. Get the right papers. It is very much important. We have a lot of land disputes, especially in Kenya, because there was no documentation. There should be documentation and proper documentation. If you are able to involve the lawyer and all those things, it's very much important for you to do that. Documentation is very much important. Even when people get married, they get the certificate, they sign, you document everything, because things change along the way. I mean, today things are working, tomorrow things are not working, or things keep on changing. You're buying a car, document. Don't just say, this is my friend, oh, you trust each other. Yes, you do. But if you trust each other, then go to the next step, which is basically documenting. This is very much important, to document. There are many examples that I can be able to give, which are very much important. So if you do not want argumentation, if you do not want arguments, then learn to document. learn to write things down, learn to document, and especially in the setting of work. If you're working with teams of people, document. I've seen some cases that become so bad of supervisors, of people that you work with, and because there was no documentation, it becomes a big challenge. And remember what I've said, when you're documenting, it is not a sign that you don't trust your friend. It is not a sign that you don't trust the person you're telling you need to document. Basically, it shows that you actually trust them. Even your sister, even your brother. I mean, I've heard of cases whereby land is being subdivided by the dad, by the father, or by the mother. The parents have called their children. They are really giving out pieces of land, and there's no documentation. And then at some point, when the parents passes on and they are no longer there, the children begin fighting. They begin fighting because there was no documentation. Because if there is a documentation that this is the match you are going to have, these are the match hectares you're going to have, and all of that thing, it becomes more easy. And so let people do documentation is very much important. Very much important. If you do not want argument, do documentation. It's very much important. And so guys, I am sharing this because this is going to lessen the conflicts that we see. Yes, conflict will always arise. I mean, people will differ from one or another. But if you're going to learn the discipline of documenting, it is going to be of great help. It is going to help a lot. In whatever you are doing, just document everything, and it's going to be very, very much important. Thank you for always coming in. This is Hope for Every Day. Make sure that you subscribe, like, share, so that we can continue passing these messages across the world and we can be able to reach many people. Thank you, and see you in my next one.